Hey guys, Kevin Cleary here with a for sale video. I have a bunch of knives to go, probably one of the bigger sales that I've done. So before we, we'll go ahead and get started right away because I don't want to be too long with this, but I do want to give you the rules first. So to buy a knife that you see in this video, you need to email me, clearkevin@gmail.com. All prices are in US dollars. If you're in Canada, you can either exchange, calculate the exchange rate and pay me in Canadian, or you can just click the PayPal US dollars option, whichever is more preferable to you. If you want to do EMT, just let me know beforehand so I know to expect that. Further, one last important thing, two more important things actually. Number one, prompt payment is expected. It's not fair to somebody else. A lot of these knives, multiple people have wanted them. This always happens in the sale videos, and it's not fair if someone says, hey, I want the knife, and I say, okay, it's yours, I'll mark it sold, and then, tomorrow or the next day or whatever, I still haven't had payment. Meanwhile, I've told 3 other people they couldn't have it who could have paid right away. So it's not fair to everybody. So the rule is prompt payment is expected. Next up, if the knife is under $100, listen to this carefully, if the knife is under $100, I'm not going to pay for tracking. If it's over $100, the price includes tracking. Otherwise, the prices do include shipping, just not tracking if it's under $100. If you really want the knife tracked, let me know and we can figure out how much extra that costs. I won't charge you the full price, I'll just charge you the difference. So if it's whatever, it's going to cost me $8 and it costs $17 for tracking, then I'll charge you $9. Okay, so however, whatever the difference turns out to be is all that would be added to the price. Okay, so finally, let's go ahead and get to the knives. Sorry about that long interlude, but it's important to make those things clear before we get into it, just so that no one is getting anything that they're not expecting or having to deal with anything they're not expecting. So first up is my Real Steel H6. This knife, you've seen it in lots of videos. I think it's a fantastic knife. I love the size, I love the shape, I love the recurve, or I mean, not the recurve, I was trying to say the finger choil. As you can see, this has not been used a ton, but it has been used a little. The coating is still in really nice shape. There's no big scratches or anything like that on it, but it has been used a little bit and you'll see some wear reflected. It is very sharp. I've honed it recently, so there's no issue with the edge there. So there you go. Yeah, first knife up, and that's going to be $40 US. So 40 bucks for the Real Steel H6. I'm trying to be really competitive here. I can tell you, I literally looked this up and they were $53 today. So $40 shipped is a pretty good deal as far as I'm concerned. Next up is the Real Steel Griffin. This was recently reviewed, probably the best action I have ever felt, especially at this price point, but even at a much higher price point, the action on this knife is simply amazing. The level of quality that Real Steel is doing on these is just nuts. So Real Steel Griffin, as you can see, there are no big marks or scratches in the aluminum. I will warn you, if you're buying this and you're going to carry it with change and stuff in your pocket, that aluminum will mark up, especially up here. If that's, if you're carrying it this way, anything metal you have in your pocket can definitely mark that, so just be aware of that. Anyway, the price on that Real Steel Griffin is going to be $45. What have we got next? Okay, next in line is the SOG Zoom. This is probably the only SOG that I like these days. There is one glaring issue with it, and that is that I've cut into the pivot screw so that I could tighten the knife. Now, it doesn't affect the function of the knife in any way, and in fact, it does make it quite workable because now you can easily adjust the pivot, the torque on the pivot screw. Anyway, because of that mark, it is going to be sold for $45. So these guys go for 100 bucks new, so less than half price, and that is, of course, largely because of that little mark in the screw, which doesn't affect the operation of the knife at all, but doesn't look that pretty. Okay, moving on to the Kershaw Dash. So there is the Kershaw Dash, new for 2016, Blade HQ exclusive at this point. As I said in the video, I don't know if it'll always be that way, but there it is, Kershaw Dash. Price point on that is going to be $50. Okay, and just a reminder, all of those prices are listed in US funds. Anything I should show you about the Dash? Yeah, this is, I mean, it's like new condition. You can see there are no marks on it. Centering is good, action is good, lockup is good. There's really nothing to point out along those lines. Next up, I've got a couple of cold steels. First will be the Cold Steel Code 4. This is the CTS XHP version, and obviously it's the Tanto. Very, very nice knife, and again, in great shape. These knives, you know, I've carried this quite a bit, and I will say this, my experience with aluminum handles is that they mark really easily, but this one has held up really well. Let me also say that if you've had cold steels before and have found them less than smooth, this is about the smoothest cold steel that I've ever seen. It's actually pretty well done, and yet still has a really, really solid lockup. So, great knife. And the price on this one is going to be $55 for the Code 4. Moving right along to another cold steel. This is the Cold Steel Broken Skull. This is the second one I've had, the second one I've sold. I do love the knife. I just don't find myself carrying it that much anymore. I've got some other knives that sort of take its place in my pockets. So time for it to go to someone else who can enjoy it. These are so good, guys, that it's just, you know, it's not worth letting them sit on a shelf because they're such great users. So the Broken Skull is going to be 60 bucks. Moving on, I'm trying to combine my list and my pile of knives here. Okay, we're up to some more expensive stuff now. First up along these lines is the Emerson CQC 15. This is the pre-2012 version with the G10 backspacer rather than the standoffs. So there has been a change in that, and that's reflected in the price. So I'm going to ask $140 for this knife. Otherwise, it would be considerably more. These are fairly expensive knives and fairly well built. You guys know I really, really like this knife. Again, I just am not carrying it. Honestly, the Endura sort of fills the role that this one used to have in my pocket in my collection. So that's the Emerson CQC 15. Next up is going to be a pretty special knife. This is the Spyderco Endura in titanium and Damascus. This knife has hardly been used or carried. I don't think it's actually ever cut anything. It has been carried a few times. I looked around for marks on it. I can find the slightest little snail trail right here by the tip of my thumb, and that's the only mark I can find on this whole knife. So the price on that one is going to be $150. So $150 for the Damascus Endura. Moving right along, we have the recently released and very well done, at least this one is. There have been some complaints from some people, but this one has none of the issues that I've heard people complain about. Blade centering, you know, action being not ideal. This one is really good, so you kind of are getting a known quantity there. Looking for $170 on this guy. This is the full titanium version, of course. And again, very, very like new condition. Just hardly any use on it at all. And I actually haven't had this knife for long, but it's just one of those things where there's some other things that have to come into the collection. So this one's got to go, and I'm looking for $170 for it. What is next on the chopping block? Okay, we've got the first and possibly the best Wii knife. This is the Wii 601 with that really, really cool grind on it. This is extremely well done. This one happens to be the blue with purple. It does come with the Wii bag and the extra hardware and all those goodies that come along with it. That one I'm looking for $250 on. And last but not least is the Spyderco Magnitude. This is one of the mid-year releases from Spyderco. Hasn't been around that long. Extremely gorgeous knife, really, really well pulled off. I've commented on this carbon fiber before. Every time I pick it up, I just have to stare at the carbon fiber a little bit. It is beautiful. Really cool hollow grind on this, which makes it slice extremely well. And the ergonomics on this are just a total win. So anyway, Spyderco Magnitude, and I'm looking for $260 on that. There you go, guys. That's all the knives I've got. Look forward to a few things coming up. I've got some reviews that you guys have been asking about. I've also got a really, really cool video. You probably noticed that there weren't as many videos this week, and that's because I've been working on something else, which has involved quite a bit of research and some compiling of data and the help of a number of other YouTubers. So if you've contributed to that and you're watching this, thank you so much. That video will be posting early next week. All right, also look for a story about that video, which I know not all of you know what I'm talking about, but for those who do, there'll be a story about that video in Knife News as well. Thanks a lot, guys. Look forward to hearing from you on all of these knives, and best of luck if you're tracking down one. Talk to you soon.